Hello, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful week through the Enchanted spreads. The Enchanted spreads are meant to hit on the harsher points in life, but tell us through more relatable stories through folklore and fantasy. So, that being said, we're going to go ahead and dive in and see what this week has to offer us. Remember, you'll want to follow along with the guidance, and these are sometimes a little bit of the harder points of these stories, the grim versions, but they have a whole lot of meaning, so pay attention. Today we have the story of Hansel and also Gretel. But we're going to start with Hansel's story first. Hansel's story is one of survival, okay? Hansel was one who always wanted to protect his family, to look after his sister, to be the one to take the lead, if you will. There was so much care and love and compassion in him, especially after losing his mother, which was also his sister Gretel's mother. His father had remarried, but as in all of our stories, there was a wicked stepmother. And the stepmother actually convinced the father to leave his children out to starve so that they could survive. They lived in a time where food and rations weren't prosperous for them. So the stepmother was like, it's us or them, and forget them. And she wanted to just have her own. The father, being smitten with love, betrayed his own children and took them out to the woods to basically die. But Hansel, hearing what was going to happen, he saved the last bit of their food because their father had a small sense of compassion for them and left them with some rolls. But Hansel, knowing this is a do or die time, this is the time where I have to decide either I do something that's extreme and risk me never being able to get back home, or I risk me starving. So he risked starvation to get back home. He was able to find his way back home with his sister Gretel. And again, his stepmother convinced the father to not only lead his children out once to die, but twice. Okay. This is huge because if this card is coming to you, this may indicate that there are people who are pretending or who are supposed to be looking out for you, who are supposed to be showing you love and compassion, and instead they're leaving you out to die. Why? Because their survival is more important than yours. Because for them, they feel as though whatever they have going on in their life holds more significance than what you do. So understand the company that you're keeping, even if it's someone you never thought would do something like this to you, or someone who is supposed to protect you or love you. Remember, they always have their own hooks as well. Now, in dealing with this as well, we also see that Gretel was very sad and scared and not knowing what she was going to do. She was clinging to her brother, and her brother also knew this, and he wanted to protect her and to take care of her and to look after her even still. So when the father led them out through, this time with no breadcrumbs, no food, nothing for them to go their way, Hansel thought to himself, well, I can't let my sister die out here. I can't let myself die out here. We have got to figure things out. So Hansel went along and searched until he stumbled across this cabin. But this cabin had gingerbread and gumdrops and candy and all the food that one could think, and it smelled amazing. Gretel was like, I don't know if this is a great idea, but Hansel was like, listen, we have to go for it. It's either we eat this or we die. Again, he's still thinking that fight or flight. He's still thinking I've got to be that protector. But this is when Gretel's story picks up. Because Hansel being quick to take action, Hansel being quick to want to just fix things, Hansel being quick to want to just be the protector, he wasn't being the one to be thoughtful. Gretel was not so excited to go and just eat all the food and to welcome herself in. She had her hesitations, but being as how Hansel had saved her once before, she held back on what she thought was right. She held back on what she should have said. She thought that they should keep walking. She didn't think that they should stop. She thought this was just too good to be true. But oftentimes, just like we do, we hold ourselves back. We question ourselves. We tell spirit no. Maybe we're just getting it wrong. We ask for a sign and the sign's right there and we just continue to ignore it. Like Gretel, we know better, but we're choosing to let something else take the lead. So here, the witch had trapped him into her house. This was all just a scheme by this wicked witch who wanted to feast on the children. And if you know much about folklore, witches always love the usefulness of children because there's that innocence, the purity. Here it is. Now, Gretel is like, oh my gosh, she's going to fatten us up. She's going to eat us, and we're never going to be able to get out of here. So she thinks, what can I do to now save my brother, to now save myself? Because I knew better. So now Gretel, using her wits, handed her brother some bones because the witch was blind and couldn't see. So she would just feel to see if he had fattened up yet so she could eat him. He held the chicken bone out every day, and the witch would say, okay, here's another day they can survive. But this was not enough. At some point, the witch was going to grow ill of trying to feed and fatten them up. Eventually, one day she was going to cook them. And just as Gretel thought, the witch came and told her to go check the oven because she had had enough. And she was like, I just want to eat something. I'll wait on the boy. Gretel thought to herself, she will push me into this oven if I go in here and she will cook me. And this time I'm not going to question it. This time I'm not going to doubt myself. This time I'm going to trust my intuition. So she pretended to be dumb. She pretended to have no idea how to work the oven or what to do. And the witch goes, oh, here, I'll show you. You just lean here and you jump in and it'll be just fine. Gretel pushes the witch in, shuts the oven, and saves herself and her brother from ultimate harm. This is so much wisdom here that comes from Gretel because she's sitting here in the face of fear, in the face of horror, in the face of knowing that everything that she once loved, thought, knew was normal had uprooted and changed. She knew that the brother that she loved had failed her and was not able to protect her in the same way. She knew that now was the chance for her to now live her life and to express herself and to be the courageous one. It was up to her to use her wits and her knowledge of what she already knew to save not only herself, but her brother. After this, Hansel thanked Gretel and also apologized for all that he had put her through. But Gretel, she did not want him to feel bad because she knew that for him, his instinct was that fight or flight, and I've got to be surviving. When these two cards come, I feel like they hold so much power. They tell you so much that you may be in a place of survival and you may be in a place of holding back. You have ingenuity that pops out from you and screams for you to do something with it. If you know something, if you feel something, you should trust in that. If there's people around you who are starting to switch up and aren't quite being themselves, when someone shows you who they are, you have to start believing them. Recognize what environment you have around you. Recognize who is contributing to what. Recognize the people who are being wolves in sheep's clothing. And understand what you can do to get out of those things and understand what you can't help. Now, this story is not a fair one. It wasn't one that was meant to have a sweet and happy ending. In fact, it was one of brutal survival, ultimate destruction, and a lot of heartbreak and heartaches and pains. Hansel and Gretel were let down not only by their father, but by their stepmother, the two people who were meant to protect them. They were lured out, they were trapped, they were taken advantage of, they were kidnapped, they were starved. And so if this comes to you, you're feeling let down, you're feeling trapped, you're feeling stuck, you're feeling thirsty and hungry for something different, it's time for you to hone in, make some decisions, switch some things up, remove some obstacles from your way, and understand that not everything is meant to be the way that we want it. Also understand that life sometimes just isn't fair, and we have to just make the best of it. We have to survive. We have to channel that power of Hansel. We can still be protective of what we love, but we also still have to be wise and smart like Gretel. These stories are meant to trigger you. They're meant to hit on those harsher points. So if this held any relevance to you, I hope that you sit with it. I hope that you recognize the strength that you have. And I hope that you also find the courage to stand through in the face of fear, rejection, failure, and heartache. You can get through this much like Hansel and Gretel did. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this wonderful spread. Please check out all of our other great YouTube content. upcoming. Have a good one. See you next week.
Now what's this now?